my name is Sam. Thanks for checking out this video. If you get to the end and liked it, then subscribe, bell notification, and give the video a thumbs up. I'm sorry if I feel flustered or annoying in this, because I've already filmed this. And then my, my cell phone, only recorded the audio and froze recording the video. So, let's do this all over again. So first off this week, I picked up Angel Mage by Garth Nix. I somehow grew up and never heard of the Gabriel series by him. I don't know, because it seems to be immensely popular and I just somehow never heard of it. But he has a book coming out in 2020 called The Left-Handed Bookseller of London, or something along that line. So I've read the summary of, and it sounds really, really cool. It's something I really want to read. So I was like, okay, I'll read something by the author to see if I gel with his writing, at least while I'm waiting for that book to come out. And Angel Mage came out I think 2019. And I want to preface this. I didn't have any issues with the writing. I feel like I didn't read enough of it to have issues with the writing. So I DNF'd it at about 120 pages in, because boy, my last month-ish and a half-ish has been kind of chaotic. For context, I was basically traveling for 3 weeks, which involved lots of family drama, lots of work, and then I got sick during it, and then there was issues with flying back. Then I was supposed to be on trains that are being blockaded right now. So it's just been a lot, and then I came back and I had 2 just chaotic weeks at work while trying to catch up from not being in the office for 3 weeks or so. So, my brain is just kind of fried, and then my house is still kind of a mess. I'm trying to just still clean everything up. I'm exhausted, just absolutely pooped, and then I'm trying to take care of my dogs and get me physically back on track with my diet and everything, because diet and everything gets thrown into disarray with the traveling and then coming back, and it's just been a lot. So my brain was not in a headspace. Oh god, and I have to file taxes right now too. That's my brain too. So my brain is just not in a space right now where I should be taking on a high fantasy. And I figured that out pretty early on. That's why I put this book down. What I read was interesting, but I felt like I was missing a bunch of information that maybe gets filled later on. But my brain at that point was like, did you miss a book? So I actually went on Goodreads to check if this was a companion and was just mislabeled or something like that, or if it was a sequel, whatever. No, I'm assuming things get filled in later on. What I read was really cool. There's an angel that comes back from the dead, and the world where people can make icons and call back gods and angels and whatever, and they give up parts of their life, time of their life for it, and the world, when this angel died, other people were ruling, and then when she came back to life, the people that they were suppressing were ruling now, or something like that. It sounded very interesting, and that it was going to be explained, but my brain doesn't know what to do with that book right now. So, it's a DNF for now. I'm going to maybe, in the fall or so, come back to it and try it again. Or maybe when I pick up The Left-Handed Bookseller, give that a go, and if I like it, come back to Angel Mage. Whatever it being. Someone in a couple months asked me, have you remembered that you said you were going to go back and reread Angel Mage? Because I feel like it's the world would be something that I'd be interested in, but my brain just can't compute right now. So, DNF for now. Then I read Chilling Effect by, oh crap. Sorry, all of these were library books and I had to return them all. Valerie Valdez, I want to say? I'm 99% sure her first name was Valerie. But I kind of picked this up as a gag book from the library. It's haha, there's cats in space, and she says she's out of coffee on the cover. Sounds funny. But I actually got thoroughly enjoying it. As a sci-fi, it was really just fun and whimsical for the most, not whimsical really, just fun for the most part. Our main character is the captain of I don't know that everything they do is legal, but they're trying to live more on the straight and narrow rather than being involved in a lot of super shady dealings with it's less criminal, right, to smuggle cats than criminals, right? So she's trying to live more on the straight and narrow, and things, very quickly early on go awry when she turns down some creep at a bar, and it turns out he's a bloodthirsty, crazy king, and he just follows her for the full book and is like, I want you, I will destroy everything if I don't get you. Like, he's kind of bat-crap crazy. And then there's this like kind of Illuminae like evil corporation. A lot of the structure overall reminded me of Illuminae, but I feel like the plots and everything were for the most part pretty different. I liked the cast. I like the main character's relationship with her sister and her father. They're very messed up, and they're very clearly going to play a big role in the next book. But I thought it was quite interesting because we spent a lot of the book that she thinks of her sister in one way because she's supposed to be trying to save her sister. And then we find out a lot about her father and her sister later on, which, you know, tilts, you know, her views on a lot of different things. So, I can't wait to see where the next book goes. I'm definitely going to be reading the sequel. I don't think I'll buy the books. I will definitely get them from the library. I don't think I liked them enough for that. But it was fun, and like the cats were a little bit of comic relief throughout the book. They didn't play much of a role. I thought they were going to be a little bit bigger in there, but they're just kind of, you know, floating about in the background, and it was fun. I think a fun addition, but I feel like it was a big selling point for me picking it up, and then it doesn't really play much of a role, though I do appreciate her addiction to caffeine. So I'm definitely going to pick up the sequel. It was a pretty enjoyable read. I don't think it's something everyone's going to like join a cult fandom around the way like we do for like Illuminae, but I think it was a good like relax read, or for a read that I think even if you're not big into sci-fis, you could enjoy this and appreciate it for what it is. Then I picked up Steel Crosslegged by Paul. Is it Paul Kroger? I could be totally making that name up. It sounds right, but yeah. So I picked this one up, and it's another one that I probably, with the headspace that I was in, I probably should have like picked it up and like, oh no, and then DNF'd it for now and come back to it later, because I can't for the life of me regurgitate what happens in this book. My brain didn't know what to do with most of the information, so it's also like, I'd say it's a high fantasy for my brain at least. So yeah, just read the summary. It'll probably make more sense. But it's in this world where these like 4 kingdoms, and then there's like a steel crow kind of person in the middle. But in the last, you know, generation-ish, there's been some inner conflicts, I guess is a nice way to say it, that like Kingdom A invaded Kingdom B and then like enslaved them. So Kingdom C came in to help Kingdom B, pushed off Kingdom A, and then they became the enslavers. Like, it's one of those situations. So we're starting off though that the new Steel King guy that's supposed to come in is not the way that his father was. They have or his mother, really. Yeah, it's his. They're not all patriarchal like lines. My brain's all confused right now. The person he's taking over for, it's not. He doesn't have the same ideas of how he wants to rule. So but there's a lot of like people licking their wounds, and people are like, well, I don't trust you after what you're, you know, person before you did, right? But he has this idea of, we need to work together because there's this faceless enemy that is an enemy of us all, that if we keep fighting amongst ourselves, they're going to come in and wipe us all out. So there's a lot of, you know, people not believing each other, power grabs, as there always are in this world. But we have perspectives from a lot of the different kingdoms, and they're from different professional and financial backgrounds. So you get a pretty good range, I feel like, of the characters and the class system and the politics in this book. I did struggle quite a bit, I think, with the world, though. I couldn't paint it in my mind, especially with the 4 different communities. We do a fair bit of traveling, but I don't think that the landscape itself was particularly developed or explained all that much. And it kind of hiccuped. And I feel like, honestly, having read this book, because it is a bigger book, it should have been split into 2 and then given that extra page amount, because I think it's like 600-ish pages. It should have been split into 2 and then given 100 pages-ish extra in each book to develop the physical world, because I just didn't understand a lot of that. They also could have used some of that extra page numbers to do kind of what they did with the Dangerous Alliance, which I was saying last week. That Dangerous Alliance is an Austen retelling, but it doesn't depend on you having read Jane Austen's books for you to understand what aspects of it are a retelling, what's an homage to it, because it verbalizes it in there, saying like, oh, you're like Mr. Darcy, and then you're like, oh, okay, how's it like Mr. Darcy? She's like, you're like Mr. Darcy because you are like this, like this, like this, like this. And you're like, oh, okay, so Mr. Darcy is those things. Okay, I can see that in his actions. Whereas this book itself, I couldn't explain to you for sure what communities it's pulled from. I believe the author themselves is Filipino, so I'm sure that they have some cultural influences in there, but I feel like there was some from other different Asian cultures that I just don't know. And I couldn't pinpoint as to what was from our world kind of pulling from those cultures and influencing it and giving it representation in the book, and what was just like the author making it up in a fantasy world. I couldn't tell you. So none of that was kind of clearly laid out, which I feel like when it's something, maybe it's just because it's very North American mentality, I guess, of myself, but like, even I'm a mass consumer of Asian entertainment right now, especially stuff from South Korea. But in the last few years, I've been looking at a lot of like stuff from Japan and China, especially. And I still like can't 100% say what's from these different communities, what's completely made up, what's just a part of this fantasy world. So I feel like if there was a way that maybe you can't do it literally like saying, oh, it's like the Filipino culture, because it's kind of difficult to do that in a fantasy realm, whereas Dangerous Alliance is in our actual world. I think if there was a way to do that, then that would have been really helpful and appreciated, so that I could have a better understanding of, oh, okay, this is Japanese culture. Oh, okay, this is Filipino. You know what? I have seen my old Filipino coworkers do this, or this makes sense now. None of that stuff was, really available for me to do. And because it is just a big book, it's just too difficult, I feel like, so time consuming. I don't even know how to start. I was like going to start Googling this stuff. So I feel like those two were kind of hindrances for me on this. Then I picked up Queen of the Conquered by Kaysen Callender. It hurt me to DNF this one. And so early on, I got to page 50, and I really struggled to get to page 50. That's my kind of benchmark, is always give a book at least 50 pages, unless there's something really, really wrong with it. And I feel terrible because the author themselves is a minority in several different aspects. That they're not, I think they're born in the Virgin Islands. I can't remember off the top of my head which island they were born off of. They go by they, them pronouns, and they're also Black. So I mean, like, there's several different minority groups that were finally getting representation, and definitely influences the book. And I feel terrible that I couldn't get into the book. I'm gonna go try the author's other stuff, because they have, I think it's 2 middle grade books that have won like several awards. So maybe that's where I need to go and start and try there. I feel so bad though. I tried, and right from the bat, the language used, I don't know, I'd have to double check if this is the author's first adult book, and they normally sit in middle grade, because the vocabulary in it, stuff was off. It's an adult fantasy, and none of the language within the first 50 pages, the vocabulary, the sentence structures, just everything on that end it felt off. There was just stuff wrong with it. It seemed very immature language coming out of the main characters. I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. I couldn't pay attention to the actual book or like the information that was coming out, because I was just like, why are they talking like that? Why are they speaking that way? This doesn't make any sense. So maybe, I don't know, it really bugged me that I couldn't even get more than 50 pages into it. So I'm definitely going to try the author's middle grade content. I feel horrible. I feel terrible that I couldn't get into it and like it. And I'm just hoping I can really enjoy one, if not both, of the middle grade books that I'm thinking of by the author. I feel horrible. I picked up the Starless Sea this week too by Erin Morgenstern. I am absolutely loving it. I know a bunch of people were like, oh, it's not good or nothing happens. I feel like it's the same thing that I heard from people who didn't like the Night Circus, and I was like, it's the Night Circus. Her writing is the same as the Night Circus. So I think if you liked the Night Circus, you will like the Starless Sea. And I got about halfway through it before I just paused, because my brain already was glitching this week, and then BTS had a comeback, and my fandom brain, on top of my already glitching brain, doesn't know what to do with Erin Morgenstern, and I don't think I would have appreciated the writing. So I was like, know what? Pause. Just pause. It's going to ruin the book. Something's going to be wrong, or you're going to start speeding through things. You're not going to pay attention to things. So I'm going to pick up the Starless Sea next week. Hopefully once my brain has calmed down a tiny bit from the BTS comeback. So I was like, know what? My brain's already in this like frantic, like just feral, like fandom thing, like freaking out. What are books that you liked that made you do that? And I was like, oh, bish, that's easy. So on Thursday night, I picked up Nevermore: The Trials of Morgan Crow and binged it. I'm a fan of of Nevermore. I have a tattoo for it. I cannot wait for Holopox to come out. I've reviewed this book a million times on my channel. It's amazing. It's one of my all-time favorite series, and I own 3 copies of the first 2 books. I own the North American covers, the UK covers, which I think are... Actually, I don't know. The German covers are really pretty. And I own the German covers. I don't speak German, but the covers are hella pretty. So I own that of the first and the second book. So Holopox, I have the edition. I think it's coming from Waterstones, pre-ordered, that it's signed and it has like sprayed edges and it's the UK copy. Oh, I'm excited for that. And then I'll pick up the UK or the US copy and then the German one whenever it comes out. The German one normally comes out like 6-ish months or so after the regular publication. So, it's just amazing series. Just, it's whimsical as fuck. Just read it. And at like 2 o'clock on Friday morning, BTS dropped their music video. So again, feral frantic brain. So I did a binge reread of another thing that I'm super obsessed with already. A Curious Beginning. The Veronica Speedwell series is my all-time favorite series. It's dethroned Outlander on my channel, which makes my name awkward now. I just... This is a book, too, that I'm thinking of getting a tattoo of this year because I got my Nevermore one last year. I'm not totally sure if I want to get a quote because I've read it a few times and there's just a lot of it that stands out to me. But the one that always stands out to me is when she makes fun of Ireland for being like the weather that it is. Is it Ireland or Scotland? I can't remember. But I'm like, that's a very weird quote to get on you. So I'm thinking now that I want to get like the silhouette with the butterflies like on my outside forearm or something like that. So we'll see. I think that's where I want to go for sometime in the second half of 2020 is get that tattoo done. But it's an amazing series. It's an adult historical fiction with tons of sexual tension. Dear Lord, sexual tension. And it's like the Veronica Mars banter. Like it's everything I want. It's when I read historical fictions and the girls are so passive and just take the sexism, I know they're products of like it's of the time. Like it's accurate, but I can't deal with that shit. Veronica Speedwell doesn't take any of that shit, and I just can't get enough of this series whatsoever. So I'm so excited, and I have my, I think, yes, I do. I have the A Murderous Relation, which is the 5th book, I think, pre-ordered. It comes out in the next couple months, and I'm very excited for that. So those are all the books that I read, or at least started, this week. I am hoping you can probably look forward to next week. I'm hoping to get through The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern once my brain calms the hell down, as well as I want to at least start the Caraval reread I'm trying to reread Caraval and Legendary, and then read Finale finally. And then I'm hoping to get to the Never Tilting World, as well as Woven in Moonlight this week. We'll see. It sounds a little bit ambitious for me, but none of them are super big books, so I think I might be able to do it, depending on how my brain acts. So, oh, and I'm also reading Reverie right now, so there will be a review of that. So, yeah. I will link all of the books that I started this week in the description box down below. I will also link all of my social media. If you follow me, I will follow you back. And yeah, I will see you on Tuesday.